Good morning, everyone. I invite you all on this Constituent Assembly debate from Department of Political Science. I would like to invite Dr. Indrajit Singh to please say a few words.
Thank you, Vineet, and thank you, students. It's a great occasion that we are going to celebrate the Republic Day. It was a day when we got rid of every kind of shackles put by the Britishers around our feet. All fetters were over, and our constitution came into existence, and all the people collectively became one document that is called Constitution. It is a Republic Day, and you quite understand what exactly we mean by republicanism. Republic doesn't mean that just you have freedom, but it brings with it certain obligations, civic sense. So it is a woof and woof of society. It is a time to cast away all the evils which we had earlier. That these traditions maybe uh, maybe uh, customary in nature or maybe imposed by the society. So it was artificial construction of society. So that structure was demolished within one day. That was the day 26th of January 1950. That was the day when we cast away all the evils, whether they were related to caste or other hierarchies of society. So it was transformatory in nature. This document really transformed our society. And today, you see where we stand today. India is the largest democracy in the whole world. So it is a time to feel proud of our democracy. It is a time to feel proud of our achievements. And it is a time to establish or have aspirations for nationalism. I'm not talking the nationalism today going on, nationalism which we had during freedom struggle, that kind of nationalism, nationalistic duty towards the nation, nationalistic duty towards your fellow being, civic sense, regardless of class, caste, creed. So I really feel privileged to announce that our students are going to present one of the some of the elements which were there in Constituent Assembly debate. So we also feel proud of our students that they have put so much effort into it. So I welcome all the teachers and students to this event and who hand over the mic to the students.
मेरे वतन के लोगों जरा आँख में भर लो पानी जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी है मेरे वतन के लोगों जरा आँख में भर लो पानी जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी जब घायल हुआ हिमालय खतरे में पड़ी आजादी जब तक थी सांस लड़े वो जब तक थी सांस लड़े वो फिर अपनी लाश बिछा दी संगीन बलिदानी जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी जब देश में थी दीवानी वो खेल रहे थे होली जब हम बैठे थे घरों में जब हम बैठे थे घरों में वो झेल रहे थे गोली थे धन्य जवानों अपने थी धन्य वो उनकी जवानी जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी कोई सिख कोई जाट मराठा कोई सिख कोई जाट मराठा
The building, which was started to build in December 1949, actually its foundation was built earlier. During the freedom struggle of 1857, the freedom fighters also tried to make their own constitution for India, but soon their voice was suppressed. Britishers were able to suppress our voices, but were not able to suppress our ideas. And when in Mahatma Gandhi's guidance, the voice of independent India raised, then the demand of Indian constitution also raised.
My mentor Gopal Krishna Gokhale presented to the British government a note on the constitution in 1914, and the British said, yes, yes, we will accept it after the war. But now they want to make a constitution for us. But a constitution for India should be and can be framed only by Indians.
For the first time, three cabinet ministers from His Majesty government were sent to India together in 1942, and this came to be known as the Cabinet Mission.
Me and my followers are present here right now to demand for India's complete independence, and else there are two more questions that will be decided later in a Constituent Assembly which will be organized to fulfill the dreams of a single independent India.
Dreams that may turn into nightmares for the Muslims of this country if we allow the Congress to have its way. That's why it's imperative that we Muslims of India have our own group of states that may decide its own constitution.
Sanjeet, please start your part.
In that case, I'll be forced to adjourn the meeting.
Due to the fear of mass action, British government then and there agreed for setting up of Constituent Assembly. And when Nehru returned to India, within 3 days, the first meeting of Constituent Assembly was finally decided.
Mr. Chairman, the resolution that I am placing before you define our aims and describes an outline of the plan and points to the way which you are going to track the resolution that I placed before you. Is in the nature of the pledge, and I hope the House will pass the resolution which is of special nature.
India's sovereignty, integrity, everyone's equality, unity, and many other points were mentioned in the proposal of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru.
My charge is that the Muslim League has been encouraged by the attitude of the Britishers to imagine that if it does not come, it may be able to veto the final decision of the Constituent Assembly.
Just after Syama Prasad Mukherjee, first time in Constituent Assembly, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar got up to speak.
Today, we are divided politically, socially, and economically. We are a group of varying camps, and let me confess that I'm probably one of the leader of such a camp, but sir, I'm quite convinced that given time and circumstances, nothing in the world will prevent this country from becoming one.
Fifth session of Constituent Assembly was to start on a historical day that was 15th August 1947.
When today, after so much of struggles and hardship, we are going to take the responsibilities of our country in our hands, we should remember that God which creates the future of human and their countries. So now I like to request Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru to present his proposal.
Within few minutes, this assembly will be free completely and will represent a free country. Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time came when we shall redeem our pledge, not only in full measure, but also in very substantially. At the stroke of midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life of freedom.
In this session, only it was decided that the Indian Constitution will be proper handwritten document and also started to work on it.
The idea of making a gift a fundamental right to every individual is no doubt very loud. But the question is how to make them effective. The prevalent view is that once the rights are enacted in law, then they are safeguarded as experience proves. Rights are protected not by law but by the social and moral legitimacy of the society. Social legitimacy is the only safeguard of all rights, fundamental or non-fundamental.
Sir, from my experience as a parliamentarian and man of the world, I think it would be wise to provide for a women constituency. If you give them a special constituency, they can have their scramble and fight among themselves without coming into general constituency.
So, the last speaker, Sri Rohini Kumar Chaudhary, the erstwhile champion and defender of women who is against removing the social disturbance, spoke about special electorate for women. And in spite of the chivalry of the previous speaker, Indian women will not tolerate any such reservation in the constitution.
Despite our fundamental rights, one more thing was added in our constitution, and that was the directive principles of state policy.
Directive principles are like instruments of instructions. The inclusion of such instructions in such a constitution became justifiable for another reason. The draft constitution is not a contrivance to install any particular party in power, as has been done in some countries. Who should be in power is left to be determined by the people, but the group that captures power will have to respect the directive principle. They cannot ignore them. Their breach may not be answerable in a court of law, but will certainly be answerable to the electorate at election time.
If any ill practice starts in a society, then the first one to affect was the minorities. Maybe due to this, our constitution makers were very much active for minorities and backward classes.
The first work of this committee should be to find out a way by which minorities should be looked after carefully, and this minority include minority group, unprivileged one, Dalits, and even women. I think women are the biggest minority of the Indian society.
Till what time we have to provide this reservation? We also have to decide this and when to abolish.
Continue.
No, we have to decide the time limit for yourself. that till this time limit we will be able to remove the difference which had divided us for years.
After K.M. Munshi, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar spoke.
We have drink poison from years, and then also we are alive. You have broken our backbone, and then also we are standing. Just once try to give us a chance to be equal with you. Then see how we will be leaving you all behind, and this work will not happen without reservation. And then also you think if my talks are poisonous, then I'm ready with my resignation.
It is being said that the roots of every fight is always of three reasons: money, women, and lands. Mahabharat also happened due to lands. So, how the big zamindars and prince of the princely states can easily leave their lands for the new country or for its constitution?
Language of a country is a matter of pride for every citizen. But it was very difficult to select a language for a country with so much of diversities. That's why the hottest debated topic in the Constituent Assembly was of selecting a national language and its improvement.
सर, मुझे लगता है कि हिंदी ही सिर्फ हमारी राष्ट्रीय भाषा हो सकती है। और जहां तक दक्षिण भारत के लोगों का सवाल है, सरकारी कामकाज में हम अंग्रेजी भाषा का उपयोग कर सकते हैं, जब तक वहां पर हिंदी भाषा वो उचित स्थान न प्राप्त कर ले जो कि उसका उत्तर भारत में है। पर आखिरी में मैं बस इतना ही कहूंगा कि हिंदी ही सिर्फ हमारी राष्ट्रीय भाषा है और देवनागरी हमारी राष्ट्रीय लिपि है, बस।
Sir, I would convey a warning on behalf of the people of South India. Because there are already elements who want separation, and it is up to you to firmly try to keep that element down. And my friends in UP do not help in any way by repeatedly flogging the idea of Hindi imperialism. Sir, it's up to my friends in UP to have an undivided and unbroken whole India, or it's up to them to have only a Hindi India.
In this case, an important committee was set up under the leadership of K.M. Munshi and Gopal Swami Iyengar to make a way by which both the groups can be satisfied and this language problem can be sorted out.
The final decision is that we should adopt Hindi as a language for all official purposes of Indian Union under the Constitution. The subsidiary decision is that we had to keep English going for a period of 15 years till Hindi could establish for itself a position in which English stands today.
It was said by the great philosophers of the world that India's constitution will not be able to survive between so much of diversities, but they were wrong. It is still standing on its three pillars: legislative, judiciary, and executive.
Now to the question of the relationship between the legislative and judiciary. In a federal constitution, it is always open to the judiciary to decide whether any particular law passed by the legislature is ultra-virus or intra-virus. For myself, I cannot omit the possibility of a legislature packed by party-making men, which may abrogate and violate the fundamental rights affecting the life and liberty of an individual. At the same time, I do not see how 5 or 6 gentlemen sitting in the Supreme Court examining laws made by the legislature by dint of their own individual bias and prejudice be entrusted to determine which law is good and which is bad.
Within 3 years, many proposals, sections, and articles were presented and passed. And at the very end, our preamble was passed, which was introduced by Jawaharlal Nehru. Our preamble was passed at the last, but actually it comes first in our constitution.
We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship.
After 3 years of hard work, sleepless nights, unmistakable efforts was paying off and reflecting in our unremarkable success.
Looking back on the work of the Constituent Assembly, it has now been 2 years, 11 months and 17 days since it first met on 9th December 1946. And now from tomorrow, on 26th January 1950, India would be a democratic nation. in the sense that India from that day would have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. On 26 January 1950, we are going to enter into the life of contradictions. In politics, we will have equality, and in social and economic life, we will have inequality. In politics, we will be recognizing the principle of one man, one vote, and one vote, one value. In our social and economic life, we shall be reason of a social and economic structure continue to deny the principle of one man, one value. How long shall we continue to live the life of these contradictions? How long should we continue to deny the equality in our social and economic life? If we continue to deny it for long, we will do so only by putting up a political democracy in peril. We must remove this contradiction at the earliest moment, or else those who suffer from inequality will break the structure of political democracy, which is built up by the Constituent Assembly after so much of efforts.
Today, after 73 years, when we look back to our constitution, we all surprised to see or to think about the knowledge and ideas of our constitution makers at that time. As philosopher Granville Austin wrote, that equipped with the basic qualifications, attitudes, and experience for creating and working a democratic constitution, Indians did not default their tryst.
वतन हमारा वतन हमारा ऐसा कोई न छोड़ पाए, वतन हमारा ऐसा कोई न तोड़ पाए, रिश्ता हमारा ऐसा कोई न तोड़ पाए, रिश्ता हमारा ऐसा कोई न तोड़ पाए, दिल एक है जान हमारी, हिंदुस्तान हमारा है और ये है शान हमारी। हैप्पी रिपब्लिक डे।
Now I request each and everyone to stand up for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा, तव शुभ नामे जागे, तव शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तव जय गाथा, जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
I would like to thank everyone for listening us very peacefully, and now you all can leave.
Okay, yeah, stop recording.